My name is Angela and I'm a visually impaired designer.
Hey, what's up everyone? In today's video, I'll be sharing with you 10 lessons that I learned in 5 years of design school. Now for a brief background for context, I was in design school for 5 years. The first 3 years was an undergrad program where I got my BFA degree. Now I had already completed some college previous to this degree, and so I had my generals already done. So it took me 3 years to complete the design program. Then after completing my 3 years of undergrad for my BFA, I went back to school for a graduate degree in design at the University of Washington. My Master's of Design degree took 2 years to complete. I focused my thesis on accessibility, inclusive design, and designing for those with disabilities, hence my YouTube channel. A lot of the content that I have put on my YouTube channel is from the research and inspiration that I have from graduate school. Now because I finished 5 years of design school, I thought it might be helpful to share with others considering design school the lessons that I've learned. If you like this video, make sure to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel below so you can see similar content to this video about design and designing for those with disabilities. Alright, so here we go. So the first lesson is make sure to not take criticism personally. I think this is a lesson that all designers have to learn at some point. Projects can start feeling personal and really close to you, but it's important to make sure that you look at it more objectively. Designs can also be subjective, and so not everyone's going to have the same opinion, and you don't have to implement all the changes that people suggest. Ultimately, you're the designer, so you get to decide what changes you want to make. But I highly suggest that early on, you find a way to not take criticism so personally. This will really save you in the long run, and it will help you improve your designs. But of course, all designers from time to time take projects personally, and so if this happens to you, just take a step back. You don't want to hold yourself back. You got this. Now, the second lesson is function is more important than aesthetics. Now, don't get me wrong, it is important how things look. After all, it is design, and we're trying to make things that are aesthetically pleasing, but it's also even more important to make sure that it functions correctly. If you design something that doesn't work properly, then what's the point of having the design at all? No one's gonna care what your design looks like if it doesn't work properly. And I think this is why we create wireframes or we sketch things out, create prototypes before we really finesse how something looks. I really believe that aesthetics will come once we have something that's working well. The third lesson is to find your own style. It's okay to learn from other people's styles and even pull inspiration from other people, especially when you're first starting out. This can be a really effective way to learn techniques and learn what different styles are out there for design. But it's really important to make sure that you find your style, your niche, and how you really want to portray your brand, because what's gonna win is when you find that little place where you know how your things will look and someone can look at a design and be like, that was designed by Angela, or that was designed by so-and-so. You want your brand or your style to be recognizable, and of course there's going to be factors or inspirations that are pulled from other areas, but don't be afraid to be unique and to be you. You need to find where you add value in the design field. It would be pretty boring if everyone's design looked the same. You be you. Don't be someone else. Lesson 4 that I learned is they don't teach you all the technical skills for software that you're gonna need in order to be an effective designer. For me, I was taught, I think my first semester, one class where we learned Illustrator, Photoshop, and InDesign. But after that semester, we didn't really have classes that focused on learning the programs, and it was up to me to learn the skills that I needed and be able to do the things I needed in the programs. Occasionally we would learn tips here and there, but I really had to put in a lot of effort up front to learn the programs so that I could create the things that I needed. So I would highly suggest, especially if you haven't even started design school, to start learning the programs so that that doesn't become a barrier when you're in design school, and you can focus more on learning about the principles of design, and you can really learn more from your professors and perfect your craft and find your unique style. Now lesson 5 will go hand in hand with lesson 4. Now, as I said, you won't learn all the skills in school that you need to create your designs. This will continue to be a thing even after you graduate from design school. There's always new techniques and new software that's being released or updates, and so it's important to keep doing tutorials or use online resources or even just exploring the programs to make sure that you're up to date with how the programs work and what's new. Even though I finished design school, I still don't know everything and not even close, and I'm always looking up things that I don't know how to do so that I can add that to my skill list. So don't think that when you go to design school, you'll finish school and you'll know how to do everything. It's a continual thing where you have to keep learning and learning. Alright, so lesson number 6 was probably one of the harder lessons for me to learn. I'm not gonna lie, it probably took me all 5 years of school to learn. Grades really don't matter as much as you would think they do. Now, as someone who has cared all their life about getting straight A's or as close to straight A's as possible, this one was really hard for me to understand. Your portfolio is going to end up being more important when you're doing design school than what your actual grades are. I know, crazy, right? I mean, for me, when I was in my undergrad, I focused so hard on getting straight A's, and I mean, keep in mind, it probably helped me get into graduate school, but they base so much of accepting you into grad school based on your portfolio that I highly doubt that having an A- or a B+ here and there would have really hurt me that much. I was so worried about doing things exactly how we needed to do it, and it prevented me almost from being more creative because I was so worried about the details. If you're not even planning on going to grad school or thinking about grad school, grades really don't matter. Potential employers aren't going to sit there and look at your report card. They're going to look at your portfolio and critique that. So put your time and effort into making your portfolio good and getting good pieces out of school, and I think hand in hand that will end up getting you good grades anyways. But please don't think that I'm saying go and don't do your assignments, don't attend class. I'm saying just don't be so uptight about it. Focus on your portfolio and your grades will turn out great. Now, when it comes to grad school and getting good grades, I was also so worried about getting A's in everything, and it really just took away from me focusing so much on my research. Now, I assume my teachers appreciated my dedication to getting good grades, but even my teachers pointed out from time to time that it's not about the grades that matter, it's about the portfolio. So I think that's a pretty good sign that I was over worrying about my grades. So take it from someone who over worried about their grades and focus on your portfolio and your grades will come along with it. You got this. An A- won't kill you. It's not worth worrying about. Can you tell this is something I'm very passionate about? Just do your best. That's all you can do. Now, the next lesson I learned was realizing that designing is only a portion of what you do in design school. You also have to learn how to pitch your ideas, to do presentations, and explain why you did what you did. You have to be able to critique other people's work. You have to have research to back up what you decide to do. So the amount of time that you're designing is probably about 50% of the time, and the rest you're doing other things to support your designs. This is very true for grad school, especially. You spend a lot of time in the research stage and making sure that you can back up your design decisions. When I was working on my thesis project, the whole first quarter was focused specifically on research, and then we got into the design, and then the third quarter we focused on presenting and showing people the designs that we had created. So really it was only a third of the time spent mainly on designing things. This is also a thing after you graduate from design school. In fact, it might be even more prevalent. In my professional job, I spent a lot of time researching, talking to users, and doing a lot of office work that supports my designs, but I probably only spend about 40 to 50% of my time actually designing things. The next lesson is that collaboration with classmates and professors is key. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I was so focused on my grades, holy cow, and I'm an introvert when it comes to meeting new people or collaborating, so I didn't really reach out to a lot of classmates. I think later on, when I was more comfortable with people, I could definitely tell a difference where I would work with people who were in my cohort and we would give each other feedback. We always had time when we could work together, and it was always definitely better when I worked with other classmates and with my professors, because 1, it helped me get out of my own head and how I was thinking. 2, it really helped me to see other people's perspectives and to see other ways that I could be designing things. It can really help you be creatively inspired when you're feeling stuck on a specific design. Not to mention that your classmates are also working on projects that can be really helpful for you to be exposed to work with them, and it will just help you have more experience with designing and being exposed to other people's styles. Now, one of my favorite parts of school was when at the end we had all finished our projects. I was there for the whole process because we would show things along the way. And then when we would show everyone our final projects, every single person's project ended up looking different. I mean, there was people creating things that I would have never thought of. And if I wouldn't be open to seeing what other people are designing, then I would be exposed to a lot less designs and I would feel a lot less inspired. Alright, so lesson number 9 is to get your designs in front of a lot of people. In fact, submit your projects to galleries, submit them to contests, or find other ways to expose your designs to other people. This will really help you to gain the confidence you need when you go into the design field and you have to get a job, or when you're trying to do freelance design or whatever you decide to do. Getting your work in front of other people will A, help you do networking, and B, as you explain your designs to people, people will see your passion for design and they'll want to collaborate with you and work on projects with you if they're feeling inspired by what you've created. Now, if you never show anyone anything, then what's the point of being a designer? We are designers to make an impact on other people. Alright, the last lesson I learned in design school was once you hand in a project, that project is not done. I can't even count how many times I've revisited my projects after I turned them in. I've revised and revised to improve my portfolio. You learn new skills or you have a new perspective, so you want to revisit your projects and get them to the place where you really like them for your portfolio. But be open to the idea that a project is not done when you turn it in for school. Alright folks, that's the lessons that I learned in design school. I hope that this is helpful to someone who's in design school or is planning on exploring design school in the future. If you're in design school or you already finished design school, make sure to comment below the lessons that you've learned and if you can relate to any of these lessons that I've shared. Now, if you're considering going back to school for design, for graduate school, you'll want to make sure to stick around and subscribe to my channel so that you can see my next video where I'll share 5 things that I wish I knew before I started grad school. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'm so grateful for the love and support that you've shown me. I hope that you have a great day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!